if you look at those four at the top, right? Federer again number 1, and Djokovic number 2 now, and number 3, Rafa Nadal, and number 4 is a Scottish guy, right? Murray. So if you look at the 4, I mean technically, and they all pretty much of the same strength. So what differentiates them when it comes to the final of a Grand Slam? So it's something else. It's not technique. It's not how they hit the ball, right? So it's something else, and that's exactly what we're going to discuss is strategy. The problem, the trouble with strategy is that it's invisible. It's an intangible thing. While we see moves we make on the board, or grandmasters make, or game of football, or we see what's going on, that's all tactics, right? But we don't see strategy behind. And that's a big thing. So we see many great shots down the line to win the point. Many amazing shots screeching across the net. Bang! Something. That's what I was writing for tennis. Same thing on chess, right? Amazing moves, you know, sacrifices, but what's behind it? So the problem is not how to hit the ball in tennis, or how to make a move. The problem is why we're making a move. Why he's hitting the ball that way and not the other. So that's the question. Why we are doing things. When and where. Well, like Tony mentioned before, it's everything in space and time, right? Power, space and time. So that's the thing. Why? Again, back to the survival thing. So whatever we do, we want to increase our chances for survival, right? Makes sense, perfect sense, right? So whatever we do, and in any conflict, any struggle, there are usually at least two sides, right? They trying to prevail. And let's say two players on the chessboard, or two tennis players. It's like two wrestlers locked up in a hole. He's trying to impose his will on the other guy, right? It's a dynamic interplay of move and counter move, right? So we are like locked up in a hold, right? So whatever we do, we try to increase our chances to triumph, right? To win, to survive, but basically to survive, because it's just one move. It's a dangerous thing. Casablanca was advertised back in 1940 something, right? So it's a dangerous game where every move can be the last. So I'm not telling you should be a defensive player, but defense it's simply ensures, so to speak, you're still alive, you're still fighting, you're still right. The victory, the attack is just a possibility of a win. But basically, you need to be safe. And
sometimes you play offense, sometimes you play defense. And probably the surest way to survive is to win.
That's right. To be aggressive.
To checkmate the person.
Right.
So,
but while trying to do that, you need to make sure that you're safe at all times, because it's only one move and you're gone. No more chances to attack or to win, right? So basically, that's a biological thing. That's a universal thing. You know, we need to stay healthy, right? To stay sound, physically and mentally, right? To survive. But you're right. I mean, it's whatever we do. Again, in a competition, in a conflict, let's say we either take initiative or we react to what our opposition is doing. So basically, that's a good thing. They say the best defense is attack. Why? Because by attacking, by having initiative, we reduce options on the other side, right? We narrow down his options, and then we're safer simply by that fact, right? Because they need to think about their defense, you know, so their attack is a...
We're less a part of their plan and more a part of ours.
Right, right.
If we're too afraid or we're always looking defensively, we'll move too passively, and then your options are greatly reduced later, too.
Right, right. That's exactly what I'm not trying to say. You know, as I said, I'm not telling you that you should be defensive. But what you need to do is to pay attention to what your opponent is doing. So basically, we need to shape our opponent. The underlying principle of any conflict is a principle of least, how do you say that, minoris, the path of least resistance, basically, right? Because if there is a conflict, there is also friction between two warring sides, right? So we need to make a situation like a conducive to our, you know, going through, right? So we try the weakest link in their camp, right? While trying to make it more difficult for them, right? To do any harm to us. So long story short, let's go over a game and then see what happens. So no tactics in that game. Just a part of the game, we will see what happened and why Black lost. And that's pretty much because of strategy.
That position there is a draw.
Yeah, drawish, pretty drawish right now. Pretty drawish, I agree. Let's see. So strategy, that's an invisible thing. Tactics, that's what we are doing. So basically, strategy versus tactics, it's a planning, like Wayne said, versus a day-to-day thing. It's like a dreaming, visualizing the future versus doing. It's like doing the right thing versus doing things right. Let's see the game. So in that interaction, there are few things that we do to shape the opponent, so we can get to that winning end, so to speak. One is a aggressive play. What Tony said, so you need to take initiative, because then you're reducing chances for them. You're negating their plans and their intentions, right? And your chances for survival grow up. Another thing is fighting their strategy. So the best strategy basically is to fight their strategy. Because you fight their strategy, you know, so you are in a safer place, basically, right? And third thing is holding strategic position, because if you hold in the center, for instance, right, so they cannot come over at you, right? So it's safer. So anything that makes you a better position for that final crossing the Rubicon, right? And they crossing the center and attacking them in their camp. But you need to get prepared. That's the point. So you need to play to win, right? But we need to get prepared. So when we launch attack, we want to make sure that everything, that we don't make weaknesses, that we don't do other stuff that may undermine, our survival. So let's see it again. Let's see it again real quick. We want real quick, and then just let's see. I wanted just to set up for move 12 or something, but then maybe I know you like to see the entire game, or at least from the start. Where is that? Where are those moves? Here they are. D4. So right after move 1, it's a strategic decision that black needs to make, how to deal with it. Right? So we just block or try to attack that pawn in the center. So two approaches, two strategic approaches. Developing a piece. D4 is impossible, so C4, D6. So it looks it's about D5. Game played between, I think it was Stamberg and Philip on 1952 Olympiad, Helsinki. So, are you guys, now is Olympiad in Istanbul? So today America tied with who? Czech Republic. Knight C3, pinning the knight, so it's all about this fight over D5. This was played some point before. So this guy takes, recaptures, now pinning this knight, right?
Momir, wouldn't you say tactics have already emerged? Pinning is a tactic.
Yeah. So basically, any battle is won before it even gets started. That's what it is. So here, it's a fight over D5. The tactical measures, right? We try. Basically, tactics is a building blocks of strategy. So strategy is a superior. Strategy is the top level. Tactics is just a serving strategy.
They're like the legs of strategy.
Right. So let's see what's next. Attacking. Bishop. And now you see attacking that stronghold of the white line in the center. Rook. Basically, we just want to go to a certain. So now C4. C4. So what's the idea? Basically, it's like releasing tension here, but
claiming space, taking the outpost away from the D3 bishop, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not played often anymore.
And those, like it's a pawn majority here on the queen side, right? 3 pawns, so the strategy here, it looks like for black, is to put these pawns in motion and to try some active operations on queen side. That's what looks like to be a black strategy here. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. An excellent move. The commentary I use is from book by 1950 something for a Russian guy, Ukrainian guy, Isak Lipnitsky. He's not that well known in the West, but that's a great book. It's like a lost, his book is legendary. I mean, it's something that actually connects to an intuitive my system and present day. I mean,
Could you put his name and the book title out on the
Sure.
discussion tab? There's a slot there for books.
Right. It's a great book. It's translated into English, I think, 3 years ago, in 2008, actually. And I have a digital format in Russian. So again, like I keep repeating, I need to somehow to provide that.
Yeah.
But it's in English, also many in English, so you can use it. I just need to make up a list so you can pick up and we can share it. So this is a great move. And it looks that black didn't realize all the consequences of that move. So everything that follows is impacted by this strong move. So in a way, the first thing we try to realize after our opponent has made the move is what are all reasons he has made that move. That dynamic interplay I mentioned, right? So, any sport, you cannot imagine a situation where one side is taking some measures, right? Attacking, right? For football, right? They're attacking this way, and our defense going this way. That's hard to imagine, right? Anything that two wrestlers locked up in a hole, right? You know, every move, you know, the other side reacts, right? Trying to find a weak spot and to put the guy down, right? In chess, what happens, at least for us, that haven't reached that master level like a dummy student, right? It looks that we don't care much about what our opponent is doing, what he's planning, what he's up to. We're like obsessed with our plans. We think what we're gonna do, and that's the first thing we need to break with, you know. And like any sports, like let's say Larry is pitching, you know, and I'm doing, you know, I'm just watching or like doing, you know, seconds before, seconds later. Now, I need to watch, to be watchful all the time, trying to figure out what the other guy is trying to do. So this guy didn't realize, we didn't realize, we wouldn't realize, all of us, you know, because it's not easy. The strategy is invisible, it's an intangible thing. So what basically happens, it blocks that unpins that guy.
Yeah.
So now there is a danger to d5, right? So if we take, queen cannot recapture because this guy is undefended now, right? So, but you see another thing, what happens. This move basically frees up the pawn. It looks like nothing important at the point, right? We cannot see that might have any serious consequences, right? Basically, every move we make, or they've made, We need to see what moves
Yeah.
he can do now.
Supporting or attacking. And we can just stop there.
Tony, that's a great point. I mean,
Usually,
like you said, the piece that has been moved, right?
That's what we
But
look.
it's other
That's our
pieces.
focus.
Yeah.
That's our focus.
Right, right.
I only say that because I've done it 10,000 times, right? I got caught by that, and it's a hard thing to break.
Right, right.
Especially when you're on the clock, right? You've got pressure.
Right. It's like in boxing, you like a maker, he thinks it's going to be the left, but then or in team sports, right? One guy is making intrusion, so to speak, by the other guy. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But we need to understand what's going on and try to find all the reasons, why he has made that move. So one is to unpin the knight, and there is a threat to this guy, but you see how white is gonna put his pawns on king side in motion, and overwhelm the black. So let's see the next move. So white opposes his opponent's intentions with the plan of his own. A pawn offensive on the king side. That's what's going to happen. We know, and when we've seen the game, we know what happened. But at the time that they played the game, it wasn't that obvious, even for the black. Never mind, dust. All right, so. So it looks like the natural move to protect the pawn d5 that was in danger, right? But you see how that bishop is in the wrong place. That actually lets white to be even more effective with that pawn offensive, because this guy may go up to here and attack. So it comes in not so lucky. So e3, everything looks like a, how do you say in English, naive, or it's just developing, castles. And then a6, right, to move the pawns on the queen side. So that is in line with black's plan to prepare b7, b5 advance, right? Advance. But now this is looks a great move. Those pawns put in motion. Was the threat. That's d5 pawn, right? Looks like the old threat. Yeah. Right? If you push the pawn, bishop moves, and so what happens? This guy kind of imitating, blocking the diagonal. And
it's just weak. That just bust your king side open.
Yeah, so, but this guy is also helping, in a way. But what else? Maybe something like this, or I don't know. That's what he should have played.
But if he goes knight e7, you just break the king over with the bishop, right? Bishop takes it's busted. So.
But let me show you what happened, and then we may go back and see. Actually, Lipnitsky gives the answer what you should have done. So this is and now this guy also hurrying. Look at that offensive. It's also something that we normally don't do, right? All those pawns in front of our king. But
He just opened up the king.
But here, there's no danger to white, obviously. It looks like a risky business, but Let's see what happens.
So that's superior to, well, I see, you would be in that's superior to just bishop taking knight, breaking the king open?
Yeah, that's what the guy played. Looks superior.
I mean, is that the recommended move, or is what the guy actually played?
That's what actually played in the game. So it looks that white's plan is more dangerous versus that black's intentions on the queen side. So black shifts entirely to defense. But those defensive maneuvers looks like they come too late. Too late.
Just play the bishop.
Bishop goes back. Now e4, also a good move. See those pawns? It's an avalanche that is clearing up everything in front of.
That was played.
This guy goes here. Bishop takes. Knight takes e5. And I have no intention to go on with this game, with this point. It's a one. It looks like it's one. You can go and see if you find the game, like long, or just Google names of the players and you see the entire game. But basically, see how this is a horrible force, and black was demolished in I don't know how many moves here on. So let's see what he should have played. So basically, it's interesting maybe to read what Lipinski says here at this point after that e5 move. The game has shown us how black was slow to give due attention to white's plan. That's our main mistake when playing anything. Like a Wayne, they looking what competition is doing at all times. Any move they may make, we react to it, right? We have counter campaign or whatever, right? We must do something. We don't watch and what they are doing, and we are taking no countermeasures. So the black was slow to give due attention to white's plan that was developing more quickly and therefore was more dangerous. Secondly, black didn't take timely measures to fight his opponent's plan, which led to his defeat. So whatever we do during the game of chess or any other competition, whatever plans we might have, we must combine that with our opponent's plans and his intentions, right? We must, like that wrestler's hole, right? Locked up in a hole, right? Whatever I try to do, I need to react to his aggressive or intention or initiative or whatever, and looking for time that will come for me, right, to strike, to launch my attack. This wouldn't happen. This wouldn't have happened to black if he had seen the possible white's playing with f4, f2, f4 in good time, rather than when that plan had already been put in motion. That's a great statement. When it's already put in, we need more energy. We need time to stop it. When it's young, then we need less energy and less time to stop it. When it grows up, it's anything, right?
Well, the other thing, it's kind of the opposite way of thinking about it, is that you afforded your opponent time because you did a passive move for that bishop to e6. Very passive. It was no more valuable than a pawn, and it afforded time for your opponent to take advantage of it. Because if he didn't move b6 or that bishop to e6, he might not even follow that plan. Because it was that bishop kick. It's when it it really started, now the bishop's on the same square it was when you started the game. So you give time as well.
Right, right. I see what you mean. That bishop move was kind of inviting the pawn, right? But it still, it looks that wasn't some regrouping has to be made before or maybe after or something. We'll see what this guy is saying here, but that move definitely helped. I don't see any other way he could defend the d5 pawn at that time. Hey, Unko.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
You're saying you have to look at your opponent and try to guess or judge or understand what his plans are, his strategic plans are. How many moves ahead should you be, if you look at your opponent's positions, how many moves in your mind should you be jumping ahead with his pieces? I mean, you can 2 moves, 3 moves, or you can't say?
You don't have a definite answer, right? Every position is, but you just need to try to figure out his intention. You know, what basically, if there are some immediate threats, that's the first thing, right? You need to react to. But if no tactics involved, then you start thinking strategically, right? Like a more relaxed way. You know, strategy, that means you don't even think one move ahead, right? You just find the least well-positioned piece, you know, and just play with that piece.
So when you're looking at his strategy, you're sort of looking at where he's drifting, where he's going.
Right, he starts and he's about to start something, active operations on the queen side or something. Just see that he's intentive of doing something on that side. So it's up to you. I mean, it's really, the game of chess is, you know, that's a kind of myth, you know, how many moves in advance. I don't think the grandmasters think really, maybe one move. They just know what, from there sometimes.
I would say I think the answer is enough.
If it's a critical, like 2-3 times during the game, there is like a critical position, you know, and then they're full of tactics, and then at those points they may see maybe 20 moves, I don't know, but they really don't do that.
I really thought about that question very deeply. I really thought about it. And you know, it really is a function of how many pieces are in play, like in an entertainment, because the number of moves, the combinations, goes into tens of thousands when you're into like 5-piece combinations. And if you bring in the pawns, so really, you can't look at that many, right? And we might examine in a move maybe 100 moves. So it's in a critical move, it might only be 100 like combinations. That's the best we could possibly do, right? So so we need heuristics and intuition to help guide us, because calculating every move, we're not designed that way. It's impossible. Now, it might be like 8 or 9 moves if it's a simple pawn race to queen, right? It's very simple. Count it out. You see it, you know. So it depends on the situation, right?
But that's easy.
But the grandmasters, the people that are much higher level than us, they've seen those patterns and they know how to reduce those patterns to an immediate win. They see a pawn race at a glance. They see 2-3 move combinations. They know how to work queens and knights for mates at a glance. You know? So but for us, it's harder because we want to try to calculate everything, but in the end, it's been, you know, we really can't.
Right. That's a good point. Let me get back to some universal principles. Whatever we do, and any other species, we want to do it with less energy and in less time. So whatever we do in our environment, if there are some dangers, you know, that's another interesting thing I found it yesterday. About visual thinking, and how visual thinking is superior to language we use, like words. Right? When we try to describe strategy in words, but what you just said, you know, the grandmasters, they have like a library of maybe 50,000, 100,000 different positions, situations, or piece setups. and they know right away what plan is most appropriate with such a constellation of pieces. So they don't use, they just do it.
Yep.
They no calculation, no working out, what is, you just do it. So that's what I'm saying. In many positions, they just made a move, they just make a move, and that's it. They know that's the right way. You said intuition, but whatever it is, that's their knowledge, which is every knowledge is automatic. You don't. But at certain points, you need to. You said, but maybe I'm guessing, maybe 2 or 3 times. Again, there is a critical keep.
Yes.
It is,
It's in the balance.
in the balance, which way it's going to go. But most of the time, they know that. So it's all about that, time and energy preservation. That's how every species works. So here, let's get back and see, or maybe next time, if it's too much time. So next time we may see what a black should have done, to stop that attack. And you can find everything, on my blog, if you're interested, before the next session. So it's up to you. What do you think? Maybe it took already.
Yeah, we've got
people-
3 minutes 40 seconds on this one, and then I have another one I can use if you want. It's up to you guys. You want to go on, or you want to pick it up next time?
I could do this all day, so, it's up to
Pick
you
it up
guys.
next time when Mayor's got some place to go.
Yeah, maybe I think this is like a scratched on the surface what strategy is, but basically you just need to pay attention to what the opponent is doing.
Okay, well then why don't we look at your blog and figure it out, and when you come back, we'll be prepared for you.
Yeah, it's always
Okay, next week?
Yeah, next week.
Okay.
But basically, whatever you do, you want to negate his intentions, so to speak, right? You want to block, you want to frustrate their plans. And once you, numb down his aggressive possibilities, then your plan goes with more force. That's what it's all about. It's not playing defensively. You just need to watch, pay attention to what he's doing, and break in the how you say that, in the bud, his intentions. Is it some expression?
Nip it in the bud.
Or the take off the wind out of his sails, something. So that's important. Any sport. American football, those guys are running with the ball. You just don't, get him down, kill him. I mean, he shouldn't get through. So that's activity and mobility. Those same things, same concept. In any game, with space and objects in that space, fighting or whatever.
I think that's a huge part of chess. There's a time and this is the critical time, when you ignore your opponent and go on your own attack, because his attack takes too long, and you can execute a checkmate or win with a piece sooner, and you can ignore it. And those are the critical times, and you would make darn sure that you've thought about everything your opponent can do, and then you switch over and say, this plan isn't going to go anywhere. My plan can now succeed. And that's when you switch. And that's in the balance.
Exactly. That's what happened, right? Whose attack is going to be faster?
Right.
So you need to realize, it's his. So I need to, to stop with what I was try maybe to reinforce some critical spots in my position, and make sure that I'm safe so that's the first thing. In some one day we're going to cover that mental process, the thought process that all players should have. So basically, that's part of it. The first thing, what he is up to. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Momir.
All right.
Appreciate it.